why don't I just go sing in front of other people's concerts? Troye Sivan, I played in front of his concert. I played in front of Charlie Puth's concert.
I think it's so smart.
It's also weird, you know, but like you do what you gotta do.
We're back with
Alec Benjamin, multi-platinum selling singer-songwriter and musician.
Clocked more than 2 billion streams.
Past 3 releases have garnered over 60 million streams worldwide.
You got to perform on stage with John Mayer.
Part of me is like, oh, maybe I'll never beat that song.
That's so much pressure.
I feel like there was pressure from the second I came out of the womb. I feel pressure right now. How am I doing? I saw Shawn Mendes was like playing across town. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go and sing in front of his line. I'm crazy. Yeah, I thought the impossible was possible. My mom was the one when I made that song. I was like, that's a good song. You should put that out. I knew it was the best thing to that date that I had created.
You also sang that song in Mandarin.
I just spoke to so-and-so at Columbia. They decide they're gonna release you from your contract. My anxiety was so high, it actually like really paralyzed me. Like, every human has a deadline built in. Like, we're all gonna die at some point. Am I done? Am I gonna keep doing this, or am I finished?
During those 2.5 years, what happens? We're back with Alec Benjamin.
Hello.
So excited to have you on today.
I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, of course. Thank you so much for being a part of it. I'm really excited specifically because I was looking really into your story. Over the past 4 years, I've really focused on this series, trying to do a mission around shining a light on the people and stories behind music.
Okay.
Recently, it's come to my attention that the main mission's actually evolved. It's actually about now inspiring every underdog to go for it.
Okay.
The more I looked into your story, the more I realized like how relevant that is to you.
I would say, okay. In some ways, yeah, I guess. I always feel like an underdog a little bit. Yeah.
My hope from this conversation is to inspire at least one person to go for their dream.
Okay.
Just from today.
Okay, well, I hope we can do that. Yeah.
Amazing.
Go for it. If your dream is to eat a lot of sugar-free mints before you do a podcast, you shouldn't go for that dream, though, because I just did that. I had the Icebreakers mints, you know, the sour ones.
Yeah.
I made the mistake of having like I just had like 15. I was like, yeah, I got to get fired up for this. Like, let's go, you know. And so I got like 3 different packs. I got like there's like the strawberry one, there's like the green one, and then there's like the strawberry mint one, and they're all sitting like right about here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So if your aim is to try and do that, I would say I hope we inspire nobody to do that today, because I've done it and I feel like yeah, it's not a good idea. But yeah, I feel like an underdog in some ways. Do you feel like that too in your life sometimes?
Oh, for sure.
I feel like I'm an underdog in a lot of ways because no matter where I am, the horizon is always moving. So I always feel like I'm behind the 8 ball. You know, even if it doesn't appear that way, I always feel like I'm trying to go for it. But thanks again for having me. I'm excited.
I think in some capacities, you're definitely not an underdog. You're incredibly talented. You're
Thanks.
a great singer.
Thanks.
But most importantly, you're an amazing storyteller.
Thanks.
A lot of people like focus their songwriting on the catchiest melodies, and your melodies are very catchy, but every single song you write has a story and also a video to go along with it, which really, in my opinion, allows someone to transcend and connect with it even further.
Okay. Well, making videos is something that has not been super easy for me, because I'm an auditory person, so like the whole video making process, even like coming on a podcast or doing all that stuff, is not something that like comes like super easy to me, but I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm trying my best.
And you're also like, I know you say that, but you're also like really great on camera, like in like the music videos right now.
Yeah, thanks.
Also on like social media as well. You do a really great job, I think, of finding your own voice and sharing that through videos, even if you don't think so. I think a lot of people do.
I appreciate that. How did you come to get so comfortable in front of the camera? Is it something that has always come easily to you?
It's a good question. I think when I started, I was really terrible at making content, and like it was, to me, it made a lot of sense just to make as many videos as possible. So I'm really comfortable like with a phone camera, but when it comes to like these kind of cameras or like a talking head for like a long form YouTube video, I still get a bit nervous for it.
Are you comfortable putting out things that you're not sure how they're going to perform? Like, are you comfortable putting out things that, Because that's what I'm dealing with right now. Like so you make a podcast, but it doesn't like go out like the next day, I'm assuming, right? So if you're sitting on content, like, do you ever be like, shit, like, I wonder if people are gonna like what I did, or, oh, like, what if I said something a different way, or
100%.
because that's like what I'm dealing with right now. I've like made a bunch of music and I'm sitting on it and I'm like, what if this sucks? You know? I wonder, how do you deal with that?
I think that's a really great point. I've been sitting on so much content for the past like 2 years that hasn't even been released yet. That,
2
like,
years worth of stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
how are you going to roll it out?
That's a great question. I think I'm trying to figure that out.
Me too.
So you and I are in a similar boat in that capacity.
Teach me. Yeah.
Well, where I'd like to start is, because I think a great place to begin is at years ago when you first started, because I think when any creative starts, there's like no pressure, right? It's just about making content that feels genuine, that feels right. How did you start making music?
You know, I think for me, I've always actually felt pressure, but I think the pressure is like, it's funny because the pressure in one way is what keeps me from doing a lot of things. It can be an impediment in a lot of ways, but also, it also sometimes in just the right dosage is like what gives me the motivation to get started on something. Like, I kind of always need like a deadline or whatever, and I suppose like every human has a deadline built in. Like, we're all gonna die at some point, right? You know, and like within, you know, I'm hoping I live like a relatively full life for like, you know, like for, you know, someone of my, you know, like a male of, you know,
Yeah.
born in where I'm born, and like, you know, so hopefully I get to like, you know, late. Well, I'm hoping I'm aiming for like mid 80s before I dip out. But, like,
I'm hoping like consciousness like continues on. And
Yeah.
you can like live in the world after.
There's a place, so for whoever's listening, before we both established we're from Arizona, you ever drive past this place? It's like I can't remember, I don't know what it's called. It's like called Forever something, but basically it's like a cryo thing. You know what I'm talking about? By like Cactus
that's like
Park.
15 minutes from where I live.
Yeah, they
I
cut.
probably shouldn't have said that.
No, you should. Everyone's going to your house right now. There's a party. It's happening right now. They like cut your head off and like freeze you.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's
Yeah.
so many. There's like actual like famous people apparently there.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll be some of them one day. But anyways, yeah, I guess. But okay, so I guess it started out with a little bit of pressure because when I was younger, I always felt like, I don't know, I always felt like I needed to differentiate myself in some way, and I didn't know necessarily how I was going to do that, but I always felt like, okay, I got to figure this out. And I think that like became apparent in like 6th grade, because in 5th grade, like from like kindergarten to like 5th grade, you know, you're in school with rare exceptions. I mean, they're like, obviously people, you know, you get bullied and stuff along the way, but it kind of really starts in middle school. I think like
sure.
kindergarten to 5th grade, everyone kind of gets invited to everyone's birthday party, you know, like
participation awards.
Yeah, if there's like, or if there's like, you know, if there's like a pizza party, like, you know, we're all going, you know, and then 6th grade, you start going to like all the classes get separated and stuff. And like, you know, then you're like, people kind of go off into their own cliques in the lunchroom. Like I remember in 5th grade, you had everyone sat at the same lunch table, so no one ever got left out. It was like, you know, if you were in Mrs. Janger's 5th grade class, everyone sat at the 5th grade Miss Janger's class table. Then when you get to 6th grade, I remember walking to the lunchroom and being like, the fuck is this? Like, where am I gonna sit? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know who my friends are. I thought I was just gonna sit with my class, and that was like a big shock to me. And then I realized like, oh, I gotta like figure out who I am.
In 6th grade.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like even a little bit more of that pressure, like 4th, 5th grade too.
Yeah.
But I really realized like, oh, I'm kind of like on my own. When I turned like 12, 13, you know, you go through that weird, awkward phase in puberty, and you're like, oh, I gotta be someone, you know. And that's when I kind of really felt like, you know, the fire under my butt to like figure out what it is that I was. And I didn't really figure out until I was like 14 or 15. But that was like, I guess like maybe that was good pressure. I don't know. I spent a lot of sleepless nights from like middle school on. But then you're right. I started making music, and it was like I didn't know at first when I was doing it that it was going to become my profession. So I did kind of get to like mess around and stuff. You know, but singing was something that came easy to me, and the part of music that I enjoyed. Songwriting was like always the harder part. So I kind of always felt pressure like writing songs, but I think the most pressure I felt was after I started to have some success, like where I could where I was starting to make some money and I could sort of like, support myself financially. And then there were actually people listening, people that I had looked up to when I was younger. That's when I was like, oh shit. And I think that's what I'm dealing with right now. So I guess it's a good place to start, because I'm like, I don't want to disappoint anyone when I put out music, but I guess I never really wanted to do that. I don't know. I forgot what the question was.
Oh no, you covered it.
Yeah, I'm just saying shit. I feel pressure right now. How am I doing?
You're doing great.
But yeah, I guess I've always kind of felt pressure. I guess I've always felt it. I feel like there's never been a time in my life where I haven't felt it. So I just was a little amplified now. Yeah.
So when you started getting like attention, record deals, and everything like that, did that just add on the pressure?
Yeah, it did in a way. I remember when I got when I was 14 or 15, the way that I got started was like I wanted to get into music, but I didn't know how. So that was like when YouTube and Wikipedia were like really kind of like doing their thing. Teachers at that time were still like, you cannot cite Wikipedia.
I still feel like they say that.
Yeah, they're wrong. You absolutely can. I owe my life to Wikipedia.
Same.
But I found a songwriter who had worked on some records that I really like, and sent him an email, and he signed me and started flying me out.
Who was it?
His name was Sasha Scarbeck. He wrote like You're Beautiful with James Blunt,
Yeah.
and he wrote like Wrecking Ball with Miley Cyrus, and he found me when I was about 15, and I started sending him my demos. My parents were supportive, but I don't have any connections, or didn't have any connections in the music industry, so I kind of they were like, you can do this, but you kind of got to figure it out, So I got linked up with him, and I just kept bothering him, sending him emails like, hey dude, like bring me out. So he started bringing me out to London when I was like 15, 16, and that was like really exciting. Wait, what was the question again?
It was just like when you started getting success.
Oh yeah. Oh, when I started to get nervous. Okay, that was really exciting.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah,
like, did you learn a lot from him?
I learned so much from him. He taught me how to write songs. He was like, he saw something in me, and he was like, all right, come over to the UK. He started bringing me out. Me and my mom started going out to London. I started going by myself, and he signed me when I was like 16, 17. Wow. And then when I moved out to LA, he got me a record deal with Columbia Records, and that's when I started to get like. That was like, okay. I remember signing the deal and being like, yeah, I was so, actually, my anxiety was so high. I think it actually like really paralyzed me when I first got that deal. I remember walking into the Columbia Records building and being like, oh, I'm out of my league, But I kind of always feel that way. But that was a lot of pressure. I think, you know what? I feel like I always feel pressure, man. I feel like there was pressure from the second I came out of the womb. It was like the pressure's on. My parents were like, you gotta study. You gotta do well in school.
100%.
You have to be successful.
Always.
I've always felt it. I feel like my entire life I've been anxious. I don't think there was a period in time where I've not felt like this is the most important. Like people, I guess like when I go into the studio, it's like you never go into a podcast being like, I want to make the second best podcast I've ever made. You know what I mean? Like, no one does that. And then when people say to you, they're like, it's okay if it's not like, it's not your best song. Like, you just got to go in and write one. It's like, who goes like what NBA player like goes in and is like, it's okay if I like, I'm going to play this season, but like, I don't need to go to the championship. Like, no one does that. No one goes like, I don't want to score points tonight.
Yeah, so you want to win.
Everything, every podcast, every post on Instagram, everything feels equally important to me. It's, you don't want to be in here. It's a bad time. I wouldn't want to be in here either. My heart is probably not happy. But yeah, I feel like I've always kind of felt pressure. I can remember even in like 5th grade feeling pressure. Like when you had to give a speech in front of the class, I was like, oh, it's got to be amazing.
Oh, that's so much pressure.
Yeah. But so I guess I can't really remember when it started, but I guess it did get amplified when I got my first record deal for sure. But the record deal ended up failing, so it doesn't matter. It made no difference.
If you're a full-time artist, producer, creative, you're probably always on the move, and I completely understand because I am always traveling to do interviews, and I'm constantly living at airports, Airbnbs, and hotels, and I always got to use the same annoying public Wi-Fi, where all my information is free for anyone to grab. Well, 4 years ago, I was so tired of this. I did some research on VPNs, and I found my favorite VPN, NordVPN. No matter where I am, it works across all devices, and I can connect up to 10 devices, which is great for me because I'm constantly living half of my life on the internet. And on top of that, NordVPN lets you change your location to any one of 118 different countries, which helped me a ton when I wanted to rewatch Prison Break last year when it wasn't available anywhere else. But I could get it on another streaming service if I changed my location to the UK. This is actually true. This actually happened. It even has a feature that protects you from threats. When you're browsing the internet and a sketchy website comes up, or all these annoying things that you have to deal with that you don't even realize is there, NordVPN works in the background to block malware phishing schemes. Plus, it's crazy fast and probably the best VPN I've ever used. So if you want to try it for yourself, go to nordvpn.com/wall to get a big discount on a 2-year plan plus 4 months free. And there's zero risk because it comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So head to the description, nordvpn.com/wall to try it out today. And now let's go behind the wall once again.
Well, I actually wanted to ask, so when you were taught how to write songs, what was like one of the most important things you learned in that process?
What's one of the most important things that I learned in the process? There's a lot of things that I learned in that process, but I think that, you know, finding the right, like, sonic palette for my voice was something that I learned how to do when I was experimenting writing, because I had never recorded before. And then also, you know, Sasha, one thing that I learned from him that he was really, really amazing at was finding ways to make really great analogies and use metaphor in song too. And he kind of allowed me to be a storyteller, but he always sort of like, I mean, what's something that I learned? There's this like there's a Jason Morazz song that I really like that Sasha wrote on. I don't know if this was Sasha's lyric, but it was a thing that, like, it's like Jason's like, it's like diving into a pool without water and praying for rain, you know, and like he taught me how to do like things like that, or to think about things in a certain way, and that was really impactful for me. I try to do that in my music.
Yeah, so many of your songs have some of my favorite lines.
Cool, I appreciate that. Thank you.
They really
all right, let's go. I didn't write any of them.
I really like, I sent, it was the whole thing. I'm so messed up, I sent my therapist to therapy.
Yeah.
That was really great.
Okay, thank you.
There was another one where, there's a newer one, bought a king side bed when I lost my queen.
Yeah. Yo, come back to me, baby. Yeah.
And then one of my favorite songs you've ever made was Water Fountain.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So going back real quick, you have a record deal. What happened to the first one?
My first record deal, I made a whole album, and it was a weird time in the music industry where I feel like labels weren't necessarily sure how to like launch an artist. It was still at the time where they were like, oh, you got to put out a song and the debut has to be big, you know, and they signed me off of my music, not off of like my fan base. And I didn't really have any fans at the time. I just had songs, you know. I had written Water Fountain while I was signed to that label, and I wrote it when I was 19. And then I didn't get to put it out actually until I was 23 or 24. I made a whole record. I went back to London. I recorded songs. I did a bunch of sessions. I wrote a lot of music, and then I handed in the album, and I put out like one song, and then it didn't really sell any records, so they dropped me. And I think at that time, you know, I wasn't really ready yet. I feel like my songwriting was ready in a way, but I wasn't ready in a lot of ways. I hadn't really figured out the whole social media thing. And at that time, you know, it was like you were either like, you know, you had like a song that Pitchfork really liked and they were talking about it, and that's how you got discovered, or you were like, you know, I remember like Leah Michelle was on Columbia at the time, and she was already like, she was doing Disney or acting or something, so that's where her platform came from, and I had no platform. I don't think like the label really knew how to get me a platform, and I didn't know how to build one myself. And also, without having had released music before my deal, like it wasn't possible to build a platform if there was nothing to send people to.
For sure.
So once I got dropped, I mean, labels do this thing where it's like, you know, they have a P&L sheet. It's like, you know, what they're making money on and what they're not making money on, and then the business development department, they go through it on certain quarters or whatever. I'm assuming they do it quarterly, maybe they do it yearly, and they go like, how much have we spent on this artist? How much money are they making us? And then the big guy upstairs goes, they're like, Alec Benjamin, how much did we spend on this? How much is he making? He's making 25 cents. He's out of here, you know? And so they cut me. I remember getting a call from my manager, and he goes, hey, I just spoke to so-and-so at Columbia, and they decide they're going to release you from your contract. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. But I kind of could believe it because I felt like, I guess I saw it coming. But at the same time, it was like one of those moments where I was like, oh, am I done? Am I going to keep doing this, or am I finished? And then I remember I was in my parents' kitchen at the time. Then I kind of was just like, all right, well, that sucks. And then I spent like the next like 2.5 years trying to figure out how I was going to get back on my feet. But it was really good for me. It was really good for me, I feel, because I learned a lot from it, and I needed to fail in that way. It was like probably my biggest failure ever. But it was probably one of the most valuable things that's ever happened to me.
That's great. Honestly.
I guess it's great. I mean, it would have been nice if it worked from the beginning, you know what I mean? Like, I remember, like, getting the deal, too, and, like, flexing on people, you know? And, like, just, like, that was a great lesson to learn, too. Like, not to be a jerk, you know? And not to be a show-off. And not that I was proud of myself and what I had accomplished. And it wasn't, like, you know... It wasn't like a big record deal. I wasn't like, I didn't, you know, and I also, with the money that I got from my deal, like my parents helped, you know, they paid for things for me or whatever. So all the money pretty much went to them. Like I didn't really make anything on it. It was just like, hey, like I signed to Columbia, like I'm dropping out of school, like see you later, you know, like it's going to be crazy, you know, and then I got dropped and I was like, wah, wah, you know, but it's good. It's good. It was a good lesson for me to learn because I don't know.
I think those failures are like what I think failure only happens if you stop. Like during those 2.5 years, if you stop becoming an artist, I think that would have been a failure. And that's how I've had to like recalibrate my mind in that capacity.
What's been your biggest failure?
That's a good question. Maybe stop making music.
Okay. Why'd you stop?
I think I found another passion, and I'm having a hard time balancing everything.
Mm-hmm. That doesn't seem like a failure to me.
Maybe it's evolving.
Yeah, I think it's evolution. You don't know, and you can always go back to making music too.
For sure.
Sometimes making music isn't that much fun, anyways. You're not missing much. Sometimes I wish I was making podcasts.
Well, you could.
I don't think I'm good enough at it.
I think you're a great talker.
Oh, I appreciate it. But maybe one day, maybe we could trade back. I can make a podcast. I'll take over your podcast. You can just take over my career.
If you ever want to sit here instead of me, I'm 100% for it.
Okay.
So during those 2.5 years, what happens?
So after I get dropped, what happened? You know, it's hard to remember. A lot of stuff happened. I did a tour.
On your own?
Yeah, I did a tour. Well, me and a friend. I toured around Europe opening for somebody, opening for a couple people. I opened up for this girl in France named Marina Kay. She was like on French Idol or whatever. She was like the 10th runner-up or something, but she was popping. Like, it was cool. I did that tour. I opened for her. And then I opened for this girl named Leah, who's mostly tours in Germany, Switzerland, Austria. All of her music is in German. And then I opened for her in Germany, and I kind of just toured around like France and Germany in like a Skoda. It's like a really small car. Mm-hmm. And I stayed in like every budget motel in Europe. We did like 13 cities in Paris and then like 8 cities in Germany. And it was like right after I had gotten dropped. So I just got out of the country. And then the whole time, like I was playing to these great audiences, but I felt like it wasn't the right audience for my music.
Okay.
And I remember for a long time I was telling people like, yo, like, why don't I just go sing in front of other people's concerts? Like, why can't I do that? You know? And people were like, oh, it'd be weird, you know?
I think it's so smart.
It's also weird, you know, but like you do what you got to do. And
It's kind of like being a street performer.
yeah, it is.
But you're in front of people who actually want to listen to music, not necessarily your music.
Well, a street performer allows people to come to them.
True.
And I was sort of like performing for a captive audience, so they didn't really have a choice but to listen. So I kind of feel like I was like holding them hostage a little bit, like, hey, you want to listen to my song? You can't go anywhere. You've been waiting in line all day. What are you gonna do? Lose your spot? You know. So at the end of this tour that I did in Paris, or at the end of this tour I did in France with this girl Marina, I saw Shawn Mendes was like playing across town. So it's like, all right, like fuck it, I'm gonna go and sing in front of his line. And then I got more fans there than I did on the entire Marina and Marina tour. So then I started taking like trains around Europe, and like Troye Sivan, I played in front of his concert. I played in front of Charlie Puth's concert. I played in front of pretty much every artist who I felt like had a fan base that might be interested in my songs. And I did that for about maybe 8 months. I did like 160 parking lot shows or something crazy. I don't know. Did 12,000 parking lot shows. 12 million. I did like 160. Then this kid that I wanted this to make a music video for my song, I Built a Friend, and I had tried to get this kid to dance to my song in the music video. But I sent him the song, and I could not afford him at the time because I spent all my money like paying my parents back and going to Europe and like doing my thing. And so
Was he gonna like dance on?
he was gonna dance to the song in a music video.
Oh,
and
wow.
but then he didn't do it. But then he called me like 2 or 3 months later. I was like, yo, I'm going on America's Got Talent because I rehearsed a dance to your song for the music video. Can I dance to it on America's Got Talent? It's like, yeah, dude, like do your thing. Since I had been released from my contract with Columbia and I recorded that song during the period of my contract, I had to illegally re-record it and then post it online and make sure that the version he danced to still Shazammed to the new one. And I did that, and then that song was like top 10 on iTunes. And then that's how I got a deal. But I kept telling the labels, I was like, yo, like you guys can't see because the ecosystem is so big, but like this Water Fountain song that I have is way more popular than I Built a Friend. But because I can't sell it because I don't own the master, you can't tell. Like there were no YouTube charts at the time. Like you couldn't get the metrics on like any of these websites that sort of like take the streams and tally them up and show you like what your position is on YouTube globally.
Like Social Blade or anything.
Yeah. And when I signed my deal, I was like, yo, like my previous label wants all those old masters. They'll give them back to me, but they want like 50 grand. And my label was like, we don't want to buy them. And I was like, trust me, buy them. And they bought them. And it turned out it was a smart purchase because the songs did well. Yeah. So I ultimately got the songs back, but I wrote the songs when I was like 18, 19. Then I didn't own them. I never owned them, but then I didn't get to release them until I was like 24, 23. Wow. Yeah.
So you're sitting on them.
Yeah, 6 years ago I put them out, and then here we are. Here we are. We're hopefully I don't have to go back into the parking lot. I'm trying to avoid that, but it depends on how this next song does. We'll see.
Well, what I will say is I feel like you're still practicing that skill because I see you going up to people like for years now saying, "Can I sing for you?"
Yeah, I gotta do that. I do it for the TikToks,
and for YouTube.
Yeah, and for YouTube. I gotta go out and it's fun. I like singing for people in public, and it's cool now when people be like, "Oh, I know your song." I'm like, that's crazy.
What has been like your favorite episode of Can I Sing for You?
Oh, I had to play for the clown was pretty fun. I'm like afraid of clowns, so maybe that one. Playing on Hollywood Boulevard was a good time. I enjoyed that. Yeah. Maybe there'll be some in the future that I do that will measure up, but to me, that's like the best one.
I think it'd be a good idea to do a Can I Sing for You outside of Madison Square Garden.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah.
And then you end up on stage.
Yeah, that would be rad. Maybe one day.
With Billy Joel.
Yeah.
One of my favorite videos you did is you went to a karaoke bar and you sang one of your songs.
Oh, yeah, in Austin?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a vibe.
That's like one of my dreams to do with an artist.
Oh, well, let's do it.
I want to like disguise people and like go to a karaoke bar.
Okay.
And then like actually like invite the fans.
Who are your favorite? Like who got you into music?
Coldplay.
Okay, I love Coldplay.
Same.
Yeah, we're the only two, right?
Coldplay.
I love Coldplay. Ever heard of them?
Actually, one of the big reasons why this started, I made a video about Coldplay, saying I wanted to interview them.
Oh, did you?
I posted it on TikTok, and it like did so well that their people like had already seen my content and invited me to the show.
Let's go. Did you interview them?
Yeah, so I went to the show,
Okay.
and I've had this dream since I was 14. I got a piece of paper, and I wrote on it, "I will sing on stage with Coldplay."
Did
I was
you?
14. So I asked Chris, like in front of him at the show before it happened. I said, "How many likes to sing on stage?" And he goes, "What are you talking about? How many likes? What does that even mean?" And so I said, "Just like any number you can think of, just say it." And he goes, 100,000.
Okay.
So I post the video, and it hits it in like 6 hours.
Okay. So did you sing on stage?
Around like 7 months later, I got to sing on stage with
Oh, let's
Chris
go.
Martin, which is awesome.
What a cool story. I'm a huge fan. Who else? Who else did you like?
One Republic.
Oh, cool.
Julia. Jason Mraz, The Script. We didn't have a lot of money when I was growing up. My dad got laid off during the recession, and most of the time, like we didn't really have money for CDs. So most of the time, I was listening to like radio, or like whenever birthdays would come around, I'd get iTunes gift cards and I would buy the songs. But most of the time, I didn't know what those songs were.
Did you ever check CDs out from the library?
Listen, they didn't. I don't even think they had them.
Dude, if you went to Palomino Library, bro, you could have done it. that's where I got all the CDs from the
smart.
library and I downloaded them onto my laptop.
That's smart.
Okay, so radio. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you're chill. I also there's like the Beatles
Cool.
were people that I like got into right away. Whatever CDs we had around, so it was like the Beatles, it was Harry Chapin, a bunch of like songwriters, and then I got really into everything when I learned about Spotify when I like got into college. What about you?
Who did I listen to? I mean, I listened to Eminem a lot growing
Yeah.
up, and then I liked John Mayer and Jason Mraz and Coldplay, and
Yeah.
I listened to One Republic too. But I think like my first, I don't know, I loved the Beach Boys when I was like 4, 5. First CD I ever
Same.
got was Surfing USA. But yeah, I loved Eminem. That was like my first favorite artist.
So you mentioned Jason Mraz and John Mayer. What'd you love about their songwriting or their songs?
What I liked about their songwriting is, I guess I loved their perspective. I love that they had like a unique perspective on things. I felt like they were speaking like right to me. And I also liked that, you know, at the time, if your name started with a J and you had an acoustic guitar, like you were like a famous singer-songwriter, you know, there was just like so many of them.
Yeah, 100%.
And they were just the two that felt like the most unique to me. They were just doing something that I felt like other people weren't doing. Like the way that John Mayer sort of like fused blues guitar and also fused that with like pop music. I suppose there are people who've done it before him, but I feel like he did it in his own really unique way. And then Jason Mraz doing his sort of like lyrical hip hop thing with an acoustic guitar. I think in a lot of ways that's probably where Ed Sheeran got his thing too.
True.
And like for me, Jason was like one of the first guys with an acoustic guitar. You know, there was like G Love and Special Sauce and like some others, but I think he was like one of the first and the best to do the you know, the acoustic MC kind of thing. So that's what spoke to me about what they were doing. And yeah, they were lyrically very distinct from their peers. They were quirky in ways that their peers, I feel like, were not. And that's why I gravitated towards their music.
Over the last few years, I've sat down with some of the greatest minds in all of music, and they've told me stories and given me some of the best tips that changed my entire perspective on creating. And I'm looking to give that to you because I'm hoping that it can help you just as much as it helped me. My goal with Behind the Wall is to shine a light on the people and stories behind music, movies, and media. It's to inspire the next generation of creatives, but it's also to create the platform that I I wish I had when I first started making music, when I first started being creative, when I first started making videos. Behind the Wall has taught me so much on this journey, and I want to take these lessons that I've learned and help the next generation. So I put together 15 of the most important and impactful lessons that I've learned on my own journey from these people directly, from some of the greatest minds in all of music. People like Chris Martin of Coldplay, Benny Blanco, Ryan Tedder, Julia Michaels, Amy Allen, Bonnie McKee, Savan Kotecha. So many of the greatest minds in all of music, people that I had the pleasure and privilege of interviewing. People like Ryan Tedder, who gave me one of the greatest pieces of advice that helped me on my own journey. People like Benny Blanco, who changed my entire perspective 6 years into making music. People like Marshmello, who taught me that as long as something sounds good to you, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. And I'm looking to pass this knowledge on to you, which will be 15 lessons from the greatest minds in music, which will be in the description completely for free. Check it out in the description below. And now let's go behind the wall once again.
Did you try to, when you were first starting to write, did you find yourself trying to emulate them at all?
Well, not really, because I don't think that I think I was able to recognize that like the traits that made them sort of like that complemented like my voice was different than theirs, my ability to play guitar was different than theirs. Like also like, you know, there were things that would work for them in that wouldn't work for me, like contextually, you know? So like as much as I would love to have tried to emulate them, I knew that I wasn't gonna be able to do it. Like my voice was way higher than John's. I also can't play guitar like him. And like, you know, he's just like, there are things that he says in his music, you know, where it's like when he has that song, I Don't Trust Myself with Loving You, like nobody would believe me if I said that. You know what I mean? Like he's a stud, you know? Like I'm like, you know, he's like 6'4", like, and he's like got the I don't trust myself with loving you. Like he could say, like I could never say like your body is a wonderland, you know? But when he says it, it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel wrong, you know? He's never said it to me personally, you know? But like if I said that, people would be like, you know? And so I was like aware of that. So I guess there are parts of what they do, I guess like trying to be honest and like find my own lyrical perspective, but I never really tried to like make music like them because I knew just from the outset that it wouldn't really fit me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Even like Pick Me, the song, like not even being, I'm really short, so I can say this, but like the first lines are like, it was 5, I'm not 5.
Yeah, I say I'm, like I said I'm 5'11", but I'm 5'9". I'm really 5'10". But
it just works better in the song.
Yeah, but like, you know, it's the true thing. I try to put like real
Being
things that
genuine.
are happening to me in my music. John has a song called My Stupid Mouth, and that feels like, you know, you can just put you in the seat in front of him, you know? It's like he's going on a date, he's like, oh, I said too much, like I shouldn't have said that. I could tell she was offended. He's like saying things that actually happened, you know? And I like that.
Speaking of John Mayer, you got to perform with him, right?
Yeah,
in
that
your
was rad.
hometown.
You know, oh, well, I'll say one other thing. What I like about them, too, is that they talk about things other than just having, like, a broken heart, you know? Like, I think that there's, like, you know, there's certain records that you listen to. Like it's not to say that, like, there's a lot of records where like that's, you know, it's you're making a record about this specific relationship, and so that's what the songs are about, and they're different things about that relationship. And I don't think that, like, you know, that is that's a bad thing, but, you know, there's more to life than just that, you know. And John and Jason, I think when they're at their best, they can do both. They can talk about things that are really different from just that, you know. And there were so many singer-songwriters at the time where it's like you listen to a full record, it's like, do you have nothing else to say? You know. And then at that point it's like I don't know, then it's like are you doing this because you think this is what people want to hear? Is this like really how you feel, you know? And there are songs like on Jason's record where it's like there's a song called Love for a Child, which is about his relationship with his parents and their divorce, and like just like there's other things in life. And they were some of the people that I found that were talking about things that were not just about like having their heart broken, you know. And I try to do that too. I mean, a lot of my bigger songs are about that, and that's okay. But if you listen to like my catalog as a whole, it's like there's a lot of songs that are not about like a romantic relationship, you know. So, because that's not the only thing I think about. I think about a lot of other stuff as well.
Yeah, your songs are much more than that.
I try.
Yeah.
You know, maybe those ones don't connect as much, but like on my second album, I had this song called "Mind Is a Prison," which I was like really represented who I was and where I was at the time, and it's definitely not like just a love song. But sometimes people say to me like, I remember I had a manager who was like, "Oh, but like you just make love songs." I was like, "Have you listened to my music? Have you even listened to my music?"
Even your song "Older."
Yeah.
It's not even about that either. And
No,
I
it's
really
not.
connected with that song.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, no, it's not. It's about getting older. Yeah. So I like that.
You also sang that song in Mandarin. I heard that version.
I did. I'm gonna sing it after this. I'm gonna sing it in what other language did I sing it in? I tried. It was really hard. I don't think I did a good job.
It's so fast too.
It was too fast. I tried my best. I'm going to. I haven't announced it yet, but I'm gonna try to go to Asia for a tour at the end of the summer. But I don't think I'm gonna try to sing it in Chinese. I'm gonna do a China tour, but I don't think it's gonna happen in Chinese. Otherwise, Kennan's gonna sing it in Chinese. Yeah, you are. Yeah, I tried.
So, going back to the first album versus the new music, have you felt like you've grown a lot as a songwriter, as an artist?
Yeah, I feel like I've grown. I feel like I've grown in a lot of ways. In some ways, I feel like I don't know. It's hard. You know what? It's really hard to say. I'm definitely different. I don't know if I've grown or if I've regressed, but I've definitely changed. You know, I don't know if it's growth. Yeah, I've evolved. I don't know if it's like a better version of me, but it's a different version of me. And so last year I don't know. I tried to. I think I grew a little bit. I don't know. I have no idea.
Not in height.
Last year is a little bit like of a blur to me. I just was I felt a lot of pressure to make music. And also, like coming out of the pandemic, we're like in a totally different world than we were in 2018, 2019. And so trying to figure out and like get my footing and figure out like how to release music in this new age has been really weird for me. And I think it's hard like during a normal time in history, you know, but like coming out of this unprecedented time, like, you know, unless you were around during like the Spanish flu, but like I don't think any of us were, and like I feel like that was like a different beast. But like the rate of new technology adoption is normally pretty fast, but it was on hyperspeed during the pandemic. And I remember going from like the most important thing was like I remember like, you know, I finally got like an Instagram carousel picture, like 250,000 likes. I was like, I made it. You know what I mean?
That's a lot.
And then, yeah, well, till TikTok came in and changed everything, you know? And then it's like, now you got to snippet your music and do like and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm pretty lost. So I feel like I'm in the process of growing, but I don't know if I'm fully grown yet, because it's a weird time to be putting out music and figuring out how to do things.
I think people really connect with you though. Like I even see like the trends that you make. You're very like forward thinking with a lot of your songs when it comes to like the social media age at the same time.
I'm making a lot of cringe stuff online, but I just saw a meme that's like you're comfortable with yourself when you're like, you know, you're cringe and you're okay with it. So I'm like halfway there. Like I know I'm cringe, but I'm not like totally okay with it yet. But I at least have like, I'm aware.
I think cringe is becoming cool, to be honest. With you.
Yeah, okay. I hope so. I hope you're right.
I think cringe.
Then I'm really cool. I've become really cool. Yeah, social media, the whole like TikTok, like the new like short. I never anticipated making so many short form videos. Like, it's just not something that I ever really wanted to do or thought I would be responsible for. But here we are.
Would you say it's even become like just as important as the music now?
No, because I think the music is always the most important piece. I think that like, you know, a lot of these platforms, because they are sort of housing all of this content, they feel as if they're more important than the content itself. I think that the music is going to outlast all of the short form videos that have ever been made on TikTok. Like, I don't imagine.
Completely agree.
Yeah, I mean, who goes back and rewatches? Like, I rewatch Vine sometimes, but like, you know what I mean? Like,
There's so many Vine compilations.
If there was a pie chart of how I spent my time in my life, like rewatching Vines is like the smallest sliver. You know what I mean? Like going back and re-listening to records is like a big portion of my life. I mean, I just listened back to the Eminem show like 5 times the other day while I was on a bike ride. I wasn't like, oh my god, let me stop my bike ride and go watch Jake Paul's Vines. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? That content is like not. I don't think it's as important as the you know, it feels more derivative to me. Not to say that Jake Paul's Vines aren't timeless, because you know, but like, yeah, no, but I think it's more important? No, but I think that, like, you know, a lot of these companies that I work with make earnings reports on a quarterly basis. So for them, it's very important to them, you know, because they don't, you know, they're not gonna come back to me in 15 years and be like, you know what? You were right, like, the whole time. Like, we shouldn't have paid attention to our earnings reports. Like, you know, like, it's just not how it works. So you have to kind of, like, walk that line of trying to do things that will be commercially viable now, but also serve you artistically over a long period of time. So for that reason, I think short-form content is important, because if you want your music to reach people in the short term, then you have to make it. Yeah.
Definitely.
But, you know.
So you get, going back real quick, you get dropped, you get a new record deal, and then you put out this album. Mm-hmm. What were you expecting from, or the mixtape, right? It's a mixtape, it's not an album.
Yeah, it was a mixtape, but like, you know, that's what like labels do when they don't want to move you through to the next contractual portion, you know, of your deal. Like, you get signed for records and they're like, put out a mixtape, and so that they can like keep you on your first album, you know?
Did not know that.
Yeah, so it's like a mixtape. It was an album. Yeah, so I put out the album. Was I expecting it to do well? You know what? If I wasn't proud of it and I didn't, I'm crazy. Yeah, I thought the impossible was possible. I was like, this is gonna sell records, you know? Like, let's go, you know? But then also part of me was like, this is never going to work, you know? And it's 50-50. I'm 50-50. I'm like, some days I'm like, we got this. And some days I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So, yeah, did I think it was going to work? Part of me did, and part of me thought I was nuts, you know?
I feel like you have to be in order to go for it, though.
Yeah, if you don't, it would be hard for me to put it out if I didn't believe in it in some level.
Yeah.
You know?
Did you expect Let Me Down Slowly to become, like, such a massive song?
I thought it would be bigger than it was at the time.
It's a great song.
I didn't think it was like, I did. Part of me thought it would be bigger, and part of me thought that it was never going to work. But I thought that in the short term it would have been bigger. I was like, this is going to be bigger. And then actually it's done better over time than it did, you know. But did I expect it? You know, I played it for enough people before, and their reactions, I knew it was the best thing to that date that I had created, for sure. So I was like, if I'm going to have a hit, it's going to be this song. You know, so, because I can only put out the things that I made. But did I know? I guess not really. I got lucky in a lot of ways too. I think it was really good timing. It was really good timing. It was like I got great placement when it came out, and the right people heard it, and it was just it was good timing. Could it have been better timing? Maybe. I don't know. I feel like the singer-songwriter thing is way more popular now than it was 6 years ago. I think when Let Me Down Slowly came out, it was all hip-hop. So it was all hip-hop dominating the charts. Like, there was no, like, it never, I think maybe had it come out now, it would have done better. I don't know. Who knows?
You can always re-record it, Alec's version.
Yeah, Alec's version. Yeah. I don't feel like the first one isn't my version, though. But I don't know. I guess part of me thinks that none of, like, my music isn't good enough. And then part of me, I find a way to look at everything in a negative light. If it's doing well, I'm like, why isn't it doing better? And you know what I mean? And if it's like, and I don't know. I guess if it's getting big, I'm like, well, why isn't it bigger than it is? You know? And I don't know. I get nervous about it. But yeah, I don't know what I thought. That's an interesting question. I didn't mean to say it the way I said it. I thought it would have been bigger.
Well, I think
I'm so happy that I have the song.
Yeah, I think you thought it would be bigger in the short term, but over the long term, it's become way bigger.
In the long term, it's bigger than I ever thought it was going to be. I mean, it's almost at 2 billion streams on Spotify.
That's insane.
And the crazy thing is if you look at like songs that were at the top of the Billboard charts when "Let Me Down Slowly" came out, it's outstreamed all of those by like maybe 1 billion or hundreds of millions of streams. And I kept telling people around me, I'm like, guys, like, push this song to radio. Like, no one. And I guess radio isn't as big now as it was in 2018, especially because of the pandemic, but no one believed in the song. And so I guess that's why I have such a chip on my shoulder about it, because I was like, yo, like, it's streaming a lot. Like, these other songs, like, on the radio are not streaming as much as it, like, pushed this to radio. But radio in America wouldn't play it. I've still yet to really be on the radio in the United States. But that song and a bunch of my other songs have outstreamed songs that have been on the radio. Play my songs. So
especially with even though like streaming, every songwriter I've talked to is like, we want radio hits because of just like how.
Now I'm just happy to just be making music, so it is what it is. But I'd love to have a song on the radio at some point. It'd be nice to have like a top 10 Billboard song, but if I never get it, that's okay too.
If you've ever resonated with the stories, videos, mission of Behind the Wall and want to help support us further, then this message is for you. If you've ever wanted to rep Behind the Wall, well, we are launching merch to the public. I started this series to shine a light on the people and stories behind music, movies, and media, but it was also to build the platform I wish I had when I first started being a creative. And my hope with Behind the Wall is to inspire the next generation. And now, for the first time ever again, we have launched merch that you could check out. Where are we going? Behind the Wall. I wasn't looking to put out just merch. I wanted to create something that means something. Something that says you create things that matter to you. You care about the process. You care about building something real. Whether you make music, art, podcasts, or videos and have ever wanted to support what we do here at Behind the Wall, this is the perfect way to do it. So please check out Behind the Wall's first ever live merch for you all in the description below. And I can't wait to continue to go behind the wall with you all.
So you write Let Me Down Slowly, you put it out, it does amazing. Did you expect the same thing from like Water Fountain? But because like Water Fountain to me is like a great song, but I think it has like this huge support from like the audience, but also from other people who make music too. Like people who like make music love that song. That's probably one of my favorite songs by you.
Oh, thanks. Did I expect it? My mom was the one who, like, when I made that song, was like, that's a good song, you should put that out. I was embarrassed by it originally when I first made it. I was like, oh, is this like... I wasn't embarrassed by it, but I can never listen to my own demos when I get them back. So, like, I remember one of my favorite songwriters I work with, his name's Dan Wilson. He's, like, one of my favorite songwriters of all time. And he sent me the song back, and I, like, couldn't even listen to it. I was like, but I can never listen to my own demos back. And I played it, and my mom heard it, and she's like, you should put that one out. I was like, are you sure? It's, like, it's about a girl, and it's, like, I don't know, it's about a water fountain. Like, isn't that kind of... She was like, no, trust me. And it worked, so... I don't know. I guess I don't know. Did I expect anything of it? Part of me always expects that they're gonna do better, and part of me is always shocked that anyone listens to my music. Like when people come up to me and they're like, "I love that song." Are you telling me that? I'm like, part of me on the inside is like, "No, you don't." You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know.
Dan Wilson, Closing Time, someone like you. He's crazy.
The best. He's the best.
You've worked with crazy people too.
I have.
You've worked with Ryan Tedder.
Yep. Yeah, he's awesome.
Charlie Puth. Mm-hmm. I even saw a demo you made with Julia Michaels on Twitter.
Yes. Oh, let's go. Yeah. I should. Maybe I should release that one. I've written a bunch of songs with her. She's awesome. I'm a big fan of hers. I love her music.
But by far, my favorite song actually, like my favorite outro of any song ever is "Hand of God" from The Human Condition.
Yeah, the John Bellion one.
And so I was listening to the song, and for years I'm listening to this song called "New York Soul" Part 2.
I did. I made that. You know what? You know what's crazy? To this day, I don't even know what the lyrics are. I'm not even sure what I was saying in the song. I don't think I ever had a lyric fully written, but I was so scared in the session that I just sang something in there.
Is it the first time you wrote with somebody, or no?
No, but it was the first time I ever written with another artist who was like putting stuff out under their name. So I don't think there's like, I don't know what the words are to the song. I never finished it, but then he was like, cut it, and I was like, okay, so I just sang, and it's just sounds, there's no words. Something, I can't even remember what the lyrics are. There are some words to it, but some of it doesn't really fully make sense, but it's a good song.
Do you ever listen back to it, or you don't want to listen to it?
Can't do it. I don't listen to my own music. I can't do it.
But you play it live.
Yeah, but that's different. It's like coming out of my body at the same time, you know, in real time. I can hear it in real time, but I can't like listen back to it. It makes me uncomfortable.
So, first album, when you were writing the second album, does the first album like create, going back to this like pressure as someone who makes content, like when you have videos that do well, when the next one doesn't do as well, it's always like, but like when the first one does like super well, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, it's awful. It's a terrible thing. I'm feeling these mints so bad. Yo, I should not have eaten that many mints. The sugar-free stuff messes with me. I mean, maybe part of me is like, oh, maybe I'll never beat that song. You know, Let Me Down Slowly has so many streams. I'm just like not sure I'll ever beat it, and maybe that's okay. You know, but I've spent a lot of time like really struggling with that. When you have like a song or a record or whatever, it's like, oh, I'm never gonna make anything as good. Maybe that's all right. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I think as an artist, you evolve, and like the more songs you put out, the real fans will continue to listen to them. And one of these days, I wouldn't be surprised at all if you had a song.
Hey,
that's so much
if
bigger.
you're not still listening to the new stuff, then you're not a real fan. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I'm afraid of not being the person that I once was. I find a way. I always like look back at like the person that I was in the past. I'm like, oh, why can't I be that person anymore? Like, why can't I? But I'm just not that guy now. Maybe that's all right.
What song would you say was the most difficult to write?
You know what? They're all... What song was the most difficult to write? That's a good question. They all are written kind of in a similar way. So, I don't think that... what was the most difficult one to write? I don't know, they're all pretty hard. It's all pretty difficult, man. Like writing music, I feel like for me it's a practice, and it has to become like a routine, and it has to be something that you force yourself to do. Probably mine is a prison. I was in probably like the most messed up place in my life ever when I made that song. And when I made that record, because that record I made right after like my music had finally become successful, and trying to like follow that up was like the most depressing thing. And that's why like my second album, I was like on the road, I was like freaking out. It was never, you know, I'm not Justin Bieber, you know, so I can only imagine what it's like when you have something that's like that crazy, you know. But even at the level that I was at, I was freaked out. So probably making my second record was the hardest thing that I've ever had to do. I think that's a common theme for
Sophomore
artists.
album.
Yeah, pretty weird times. And it was like straight into the pandemic too. I was weird making it, and I released it the day the protests started in LA.
Oh wow.
Which was like, I didn't plan that, you know, like I didn't know that was gonna happen. The pandemic, everything shut down, and then like LA, like people were, it was a riot in Los Angeles, or a protest, whatever it was, and they shut down the whole city. So it's a great day to release a record. Yeah, that was a weird time.
How's this new album been writing? How's your process been when writing songs now? Is it the same?
Pretty similar. I sit down and I just try to jot down like whatever it is I'm feeling at the time, and then I try to pull words from that, and then I make a list of words, and then I review the words before my session, and I pull out like 5 or 6 key ones, and then I try to take those words and pair them with something that feels like it's something that sounds like the word feels. That makes sense. Yeah, that's my process.
You've been learning Mandarin for a long time.
Yeah, I was when I was younger, but I'm pretty rusty. Yeah. Do you speak Mandarin?
No, I speak Hebrew.
Oh, sweet. Let's go.
Shalom.
All right. Hell yeah.
So what's interesting to me is like you're learning Mandarin from a young age. Even like people I've met that like are in high school that learn like Spanish or these other things. It's never like that. It's never like conversational. Like they can usually write it. Maybe they're conversational, but like it's not to that level.
Yeah, but don't test me. I'm not trying to go through and do like another degree in
I
Chinese.
wasn't
Yeah.
planning on it.
Yeah.
Has it been what made you want to incorporate Mandarin in a lot of the songs?
I just thought it would be fun to try and do, and I like East Asian culture, and I thought it'd just be a fun thing to try and do. And during the pandemic, there was this Chinese movie star who was like talking about my stuff on Chinese social media, and I was like, let's do a song together, And that's what kind of started the whole
Sick.
thing. Yeah. Kenan taught me how. Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of just a thing I thought it would be fun to try and do, so we did it. We'll see how it goes when I get over to Asia. Hopefully, I can try some of it.
I'm
but
rooting.
I gotta practice. So,
Who has been like? Tell me one of your favorite songs and what it was like to write it.
can I tell you one of my favorite songs that I didn't write?
Yeah.
I love Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen. I can only imagine what it was like to write it, but
Do you know the story of that song?
I don't.
Like the full thing? It's crazy.
All right.
It starts off, okay,
hit
Leonard
me.
Cohen, like, writes this song, right? He writes this song, it's like 30 pages of Hallelujah.
Okay.
And he tries singing it, and nobody, nobody will, believe in the song. Like, his record label wouldn't let him release the song. Another guy finds that song, records his own version of it. This is years. It ends up on, like a magazine, like a random thing that nobody has. And then finally,
Jeff Buckley?
Jeff Buckley is working as like a house sitter and finds the song, and he listens to it and he decides to make his own version.
And then
He makes a version, and unfortunately he passes away.
right.
And then it connects to another level. So 30 years in the making of that song, finally connects with people. It's
That's crazy how long it took.
Yeah.
I did not know it took that long. But I knew that it wasn't his version initially that was the one that was popular, but I didn't know that it was over a 30-year period. That gives me hope. Maybe some of my songs will be popular in 30 years. Some of the ones I'm proud of that I haven't necessarily reached a critical mass yet.
What do you love about that song?
I love the lyrics. I love that it's more like it. I just love the lyrics. I think they're the best lyrics. Yeah.
Amazing. Was there ever a time that you didn't believe in yourself?
Yeah, probably like I'll stop believing myself at like 4 p.m. today, and then like again at midnight, and yeah. There's been a lot of times where I believe too deeply in something, and then I don't believe in it at all. It's kind of a spectrum. So right now I'm sort of teetering on the edge of not believing in myself and believing in myself.
What's a piece of advice you have for artists or anyone that wants, even me, wanting to start songwriting again?
So my advice would be to define what it is that your goals are. Long-term, medium-term, and short-term goals. So even if that's yeah, I guess that would be it. And then everything kind of falls into place if you can define what your destination is.
Yeah.
Because then you have to look at the destination. You go, okay, if I want to get there, then what is it that I need to do in order to get to that place? And you can kind of asking yourself that question will elucidate a path forward for you. But if you don't know where you're headed, sometimes people will ask me should I get a manager? I'm like, well, what do you need a manager for? I don't know. Someone wants to manage me and thought I'd get a manager. I'm like, well, if you don't know what you want the manager to do, then I would say you probably shouldn't hire one. It's so I feel like if you can look at your goal and this is what my goal is, and I need a manager because they'll help me get to this goal or whatever. It's okay, if it fits into your plan, then you should get a manager. But if you're not really sure where you're headed, I feel like the most important thing is to figure out where you're going. So, if you want to just make songs for fun, then make songs for fun. If your goal is ultimately to just make yourself happy, then that's great. But if your goal is to sell records or whatever, then that's great. Figure out what that is, what that looks like. If you want to support yourself on your music, then figure out okay, what is it that I need to do to like how much money do I need to like pay my rent? Like end goal, like I want to make a living off music. Okay, what do I want my life to look like? Okay, then I need like my music has to generate this, and it's like, okay, well then you got to start putting songs out and figure out like, does that make sense? Maybe that's a bad way to look at it.
Would you say those were like kind of your goals when you were first starting?
My goal was I want to do what Jason Mraz and John Mayer are doing. I'm like, how do I do that? I saw them and I was like, that's it. That's what I want. Give me that. I'm still not there. So, I want to play Madison Square Garden one day or the Forum or whatever, or play Hollywood Bowl. And right now, like on my cell phone, I have like my background right now is just like, these are my goals. I have like pictures of my goals, like I want to have a family. So I have like a family, like, I don't know, it's just like a clip art of a family.
Aww.
And then I have like, ultimately I'll move out of my parents' house, so there's a house on there. And then, I have a Grammy on there and like Madison Square Garden and like a bunch of other stuff too. But yeah, that's what I do now. I define what my goals are, and then I try to kind of work backwards from there. I think that's like the most important thing to do. And that's how my songwriting process works too. It's like I start out with like an emotion, something that I want to talk about. It's like I want to talk about, I sent my therapist at therapy. I had that line, and then I'm like, okay, well, I want to talk about like how I sent my therapist at therapy. Like that's the end goal. So what do I need to do to write a song that has this as the title? It's like, okay, well, what's the song about? What do I want it to sound like sonically? And then I kind of just build it out from there. So I'm just kind of filling in. It's like a puzzle. You're just, you know where you're starting, you know where you're ending, and then you just got to fill in the pieces,
For sure.
Yeah.
When you started, you said one of your goals was to be like John Mayer or Jason Mraz.
Mm-hmm.
Later in life, you got to perform on stage with John Mayer.
Yeah.
What was that like? And when you achieved that, like, did the goal change? Like, was that like, wow, I did it? Or was it like almost like an emptiness?
No, because in order for me to be like one of them, I have to have an artist who wants to be like me and then play on stage with them.
True.
So that would be like the full, that would be like the, but that was for me like, you're on the right path, keep going. But until I have that moment where like, I get to take someone else under my wing and play on stage with them, like that's when I'll feel like, okay, because I was at the Forum, when I'm playing on stage at the Forum with someone else, and it's my show, then I can be like, okay, I've made it, but I'm not there yet.
So, Alec, thank you so much for being a part of this.
Thank you for having me.
I wrote you a thank you card.
Oh, appreciate it.
This is for you.
Okay.
You can read on your own time.
Okay, I won't read it now. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Last question for you. What would you like to promote?
I have an album. I have an album coming out soon. Yeah, go listen to my music. That's it. Yeah.
Any of the old songs that you want people to check out too?
Go listen to all of it.
All the songs.
Go listen to all of it. Whatever resonates with you is
incredible.
Fine. It's fine with me.
Thank you so much for being a part of this, Alec.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Cool.